Alright, let's talk about something that's honestly kind of hilarious, but also incredibly revealing about where the Democrat Party is right now. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the so-called darling of the radical left, the poster child of progressivism, the face plastered all over Instagram feeds and late-night comedy skits, has officially been eaten alive by her own base. That's right, the people who once worshipped her, the people who hung on her every word are now turning on her. And it's not just a little disagreement. It's full-blown outrage. I'm talking vandalism. I'm talking heckling. I'm talking angry left-wing activists calling AOC a war criminal at her own time.
Investigations underway after someone vandalized Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's campaign office in the Bronx.
Yeah, someone dumped red paint on the roll-down gate with a sign that says AOC funds genocide in Gaza. Eyewitness News anchor Joe Torres is live in Westchester Square with more on that investigation. Joe.
Lauren, there is considerable and widespread agreement here in Westchester Square that no matter what political position you might have, your stance, what side of the aisle, if you're looking to make a statement, this is not the way to do it, through vandalism and the defacing of public property. According to police, it was about 12:40 this morning when this vandalism happened.
That the squad's superstar, once celebrated as the future of the Democratic Party, now being shouted down like she's Dick Cheney at an anti-war rally. And the spark behind this circus, none other than Marjorie Taylor Greene. Yes, MTG, the woman Democrats dismiss as a cartoon villain, just pulled off a political trap so clean it left AOC stranded in a no-win corner. Here's how it went down. Greene introduced a bill dead on arrival, sure that would have slashed $500 million in U.S. funding for Israel's Iron Dome defense system. For anyone who doesn't follow Middle East politics, Iron Dome is Israel's shield. It knocks rockets out of the sky before they level schools, hospitals, and apartment buildings. Without it, entire neighborhoods would be smoking craters. Now, Greene knew her bill was doomed. That wasn't the play. The play was to box Democrats in, because let's be real, today's Democratic Party runs on two obsessions, hating MAGA and hating Israel. Greene forced them to choose. Side with MAGA and defund Israel, or side with Israel and enrage their anti-Israel base. Either way, Democrats lose. That's not politics, that's checkmate. And AOC. She walked straight into it. Instead of giving her base the symbolic protest vote they craved, locking arms with Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib, she voted against MTG's bill. Overnight, the progressive queen became a Zionist sellout. Her New York office got splattered with red paint and graffiti branding her complicit in genocide. At her own town hall, furious constituents heckled her to her face, calling her a war criminal. She tried damage control on Twitter. Xbot the replies were savage. Former superfans now accused her of being just another establishment Democrat, hopelessly in love with Israel. And let's be honest, that's the ultimate slur in her political lane. AOX even tried explaining her vote. She argued Greene's amendment wasn't about offensive weapons but about Iron Dome, which is purely defensive. She said she's fine with Israel blocking rockets. She just doesn't want to bankroll bombs. Sounds nuanced, right? Wrong. Her base didn't want nuance. They wanted blood, or at least a symbolic gesture that fed their outrage. She didn't deliver. So now she's the enemy. And here's the kicker. Some of her critics actually compared funding Iron Dome to giving a school shooter a bulletproof vest. Let that sink in. In their minds, protecting civilians from rocket fire is the same thing as arming a mass murderer. That's how deranged the rhetoric has become. What we're watching isn't just as spat, it's the left cannibalizing itself. Because here's the truth. If your entire political brand is being the most radical voice in the room, eventually someone else will out-radical you. There's always another extreme, another purity test, another activist ready to scream louder. And sooner or later, the mob you built turns on you. That's exactly what's happening to AOC, right? Now
hard to defend and I know what you're doing about the genocide in Gaza. You're a war
was leading the revolution. Now she's learning the revolution doesn't have leaders, it devours them. And honestly, this was inevitable. Remember when Bernie Sanders was the untouchable socialist grandpa? Now even he's branded a sellout because he doesn't openly call for Israel's destruction. That's the reality of today's left. They don't want compromise. They don't want nuance. They don't even want defensive systems. When they chant Free Palestine, what they really mean is eliminate Israel completely. Unless you're willing to go that far, you're not radical enough. That's the trap AOC walked into. The radicals cheered for her as long as she repeated their lines word for word, but the second she showed an ounce of independence, boom, she's not a progressive hero anymore. She's a war criminal. And this isn't just an AOC problem. This is the Democratic Party's civil war on full display. Moderates were shoved out years ago. What's left is a movement where radicals fight other radicals to prove who's the purest. And in that environment, the loudest and most extreme voices always win. Step back and look at the big picture. The Democrats are in a death spiral. They've abandoned middle America, embraced every fringe ideology they could find, and now even their stars people like AOC aren't radical enough anymore. Think about that. When your base calls you a Zionist war criminal because you didn't side with Marjorie Taylor Greene, you've officially gone off the deep end, and honestly, I can't help but enjoy the irony. The same people who spent years calling everyone else Nazis and fascists are now being called Nazis and fascists by their own side. Political karma doesn't get better than that, but here's why it matters. Beyond the spectacle, it shows just how directionless and leaderless the Democratic Party has become. Say what you want about Donald Trump, love him or hate him, but people know what he stands for. He has a message, a vision, and he doesn't apologize for it. Meanwhile, Democrats are flailing. No unity, no clarity. No leadership, just chaos. Look at the map. Almost every county in America shifted right in the last election. Voters are rejecting radicalism. But instead of recalibrating, Democrats are doubling down on the fringe, letting the squad and activist mobs dictate the agenda. And now, even their poster child is being eaten alive for not being extreme enough. You can't out-radical your own radicals. That's not strategy, that's suicide. And while Democrats are busy tearing themselves apart, Republicans are sitting back, watching, laughing, and quietly gaining ground. This isn't just infighting. This is a gift to the GOP. Every time AOC gets heckled by her own supporters, every time her office gets vandalized by Democrats, every time she's labeled a war criminal, Republicans rack up another talking point. It reinforces the story they've been selling for years. The left is unhinged, chaotic, and completely out of touch with normal Americans. Ask yourself, do voters in swing states like Pennsylvania or Georgia see a party whose activists scream that Israel has no right to exist and think, yeah, that makes sense? Of course not. Regular Americans hear that and think, these people are insane. And they're not wrong. Here's the Democrats' fatal error. They've confused Twitter mobs with the electorate. They assume the shrieking radicals on social media represent the whole country. Spoiler alert, they don't. That's why this is a slow-motion car crash. AOC thought she could ride the wave of radical energy forever. Now the tide has turned, and she's being pulled under by the very movement she helped create. And the worst part, once the radicals decide you're a sellout, there's no coming back. They don't forgive, they don't forget, they just move on to the next activist willing to push the envelope even further. We saw it with Bernie. We're seeing it with AOC. And we'll see it again with whoever's next. Radical politics is never satisfied. So, here's the question for you. Can AOC recover from this, or is she officially done as the left's superstar? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious how you see this playing out. And while you're at it, hit that like button. It really helps the algorithm and lets me know you want more breakdowns like this. If you're new here, subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next meltdown from the radical left, because, trust me, there will be plenty more.